if somebody comes up to you and says, you want to hear about Jesus, you literally have no idea what the next thing that's going to come out of this person's mouth is. That's how undefined Christianity is. And so it's lost, meaning it's lost all of its cultural purchase. It gets to what? A secular society in which people worship their appetites and their desires and money, pleasure, power. And then you have all these weird religions, pseudo-religious spiritual things sneaking in surrounding AI and technology. And now you're happy because you're the demon in this example, because we've gotten rid of Christendom. And now we can start slowly turning it back into something that looks like ancient man's slavery to the pagan gods.
Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the f*** are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Revolution will be podcasted.
All right, guys, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studios. That's right, go to samtripoli.gold, use promo code tinfoil, and you too can get in on the Paris Smells game for as little as $50 a month. Very excited to have our next guest on. He's a former professor turned podcaster. Please welcome Dr. Zachary Porcu. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
We're very honored to have you on. Thanks for joining us. For our listeners who may not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at zacharyporcu.substack.com. That's the main way. I have a couple YouTube channels as well. I was on the traditional academic route. I did a bachelor's and a master's in philosophy, and then I did my PhD in church history at the Catholic University of America in DC. And I was a teaching fellow, and then I was a professor for a while, and then my university went bankrupt and fired everyone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I kind of took a long, hard look at the state of academia, and a friend of mine who's in the industry told me that on average, one university or college closes per week in the United States.
Whoa!
Yeah. People don't realize this. The whole education thing was this giant bubble, and now AI is kind of the death knell in that bubble, I would say. And so I switched to full-time podcasting, and it's been basically like the better version of being in the classroom. The students actually want to be there.
That's hilarious. What do you so you think it's AI that is destroying the universities? Do you think it's a couple things like, a lot of people spending a lot of money on a degree and they can't find jobs? You think that has something to do with it? The indoctrination that seems to be going on in colleges, where people come out with a view of the world that doesn't fit reality, and they tend to spiral.
I mean, it's all three of those things. So the basic economics is that college just kept getting more and more expensive, and so it's no longer tenable for a 19-year-old to pay $200,000 for something that's a very ambiguous proposition. Like, what is actually the value that you're getting from that? And so it's not how do you pay that back? I mean, that's a minor mortgage from a long time ago. So you get this kind of half a mortgage for what? Now you're a debt slave for the rest of your life. That's not a very good value proposition. And then the content of the education itself is very dubious, given the way that it's mostly ideological at this point. If you go into humanities, pretty much almost not everywhere. There are some places, but many, many places, especially state schools. And then the third thing is that AI has now, in the last 5 years, made the whole prospect absurd. So the first time ChatGPT really hit public awareness that summer, when I was a professor, there was just nothing but AI cheating, just complete gibberish, nonsense papers all of the time. And I had to switch to no homework. So there was no homework. And after that, it was all in class, handwritten assignments and oral exams after that.
Whoa, that's crazy. So you would go, okay, next week, this is our exam. And they would have to research and study up to that and take it in class. Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of, I mean, not that long ago in this country, the oral exam was a time-tested, honored mode of examination. And so I don't see higher education going away, but I see it massively shrinking, and I see it shrinking to an overwhelming emphasis on competency. And the way that you assess competency, this is something that I've done when I was a K through 12 teacher at a classical academy on the East Coast, was they would do end of term oral exams. Basically, the student would come in and sit in the office with the teacher for an hour, and you would dialogue through what we learned that semester and prod the student and ask his thoughts and what do you think about this and how would you assess this text that we read. And then you gave a grade based on that, and there's just no way to fake that. And even the prep for that is way harder. You actually have to be engaged with and know the material than just putting words on a page.
I think I would have done way better with that, because whenever I would study with people and they'd ask me questions, I could answer it, and then I would go to the written exam and I just couldn't get my thoughts across in a way that the professor understood it, probably because I'm functionally illiterate. They would be like, this guy can't even write. How am I going to pass him on this exam? So I actually like that. I talk about that a lot with podcasting, that, everyone's like, no one's reading books anymore. And I do think that's a problem. But I do feel that like the oral history was like more traditional. It's like really going back to old school. Books are old school. Oral history is old school, where they would speak the knowledge and pass it on. So you'd have it's almost like my belief about the difference between smarts and intelligence. Like intelligence is understanding systems, but smart is wisdom of understanding how things work on a more person-to-person level. So I find that very interesting. Very interesting. Wow. The orality that you're talking about is actually not that long ago. So something that people don't know about the Middle Ages is that, yes, there was a lot of text produced in the Middle Ages, as opposed to this whole like Dark Ages myth that's completely fake. A massive amount of text was produced in the Middle Ages, but the Middle Ages were not mainly text-based. They were oral. So because writing was expensive, and if you wanted to copy a text, you had to sit there and hand write a copy of a massive text. And so people had more things memorized. The medieval scholastics, they basically would have the whole Bible memorized, all the works of Aristotle, all the, anything that they had, they just had it all memorized. And they could just have this whole dialogue where they'd block quote from memory stuff at each other. So primarily the world they lived in was oral. And that actually, if you want to put it this way, that's like bigger brain in a certain sense than just having access to text. Like they became the text. It was an incredibly intellectual culture, and writing was secondary and a way to subsidize or preserve the oral content. One thing about AI that scares me is that will I one day go into surgery with a guy that used AI to pass all of his exams?
You're going to have AI doing the surgery pretty soon. So.
Oh, that's interesting. That scares me too.
Yeah.
As it should.
But why would it be scary if they claim that it's better, that it can't fuck up? I mean, it's scary because it's new, but if they can tell you it's not going to mess up like a normal doctor would, that's where, scientifically, I'm like, all right, AI sounds really good about now.
I mean, there is a human element that leads to the third largest cause of death in America is, medical malpractice. But, there's also I don't know, in the moment, things are kind of crazy. And if it's not something that is able to think outside of its set procedures, what does that lead to? If it's like A, B, C, D, and it's just well, maybe life isn't that. Maybe the situation isn't that. And it's like just with using ChatGPT, you see its limitations.
medicine is unique in that way because it requires diagnosis. I guess it could be useful for that, right? Like, I mean, that's its best use case is that kind of thing. But I would say,
how does AI deal with variables? That's my question.
Or improvisation is what you're talking about, right?
What I think AI's biggest thing, best feature, is that it can take your thought and fine tune it and refine it.
Yeah.
But can it have that initial thought?
That's the debate.
Well, here's a deeper question. The AI, we know how it's built. It's a machine, and if you've interacted with it much, it's very clear that it thinks in a machine way. So the question is, are people machines? Do we exist in a machine way, or do we exist in a living, organic way that isn't reducible to a bunch of ones and zeros? And so this is especially pertinent with health because, as you know, mainstream medicine is not the only medicine, and it's not the only medicine that's effective. And whatever your opinions about alternative medicines, the reality is that the industry that we've inherited is a very machine-like industry. It wants to reduce the person to something like an automobile where we can just change out parts, and that's going to be fine. Oh, we put in a metal hip. That's better than a regular hip. It's like, is it? Are you becoming more machine? And so when you use AI, and you say, oh, this thing that's good at machine thinking, we're going to apply it to this other thing, the human body and mind, which are not machines and are not in any way, even though it's in our mindset to compare them, they're really not in any way comparable to a closed system like a machine. But that's part of our imagination. So we just assume it's fine. Like, oh, it doesn't make mistakes. It's like, what does that mean? Do we understand the body actually? Is the body like a machine? Not really.
And at some point, and I put this on the baby boomers, and I don't think it's their fault, but I think so much knowledge was lost in that generation, whether they weren't taught or they were just spread so thin, chasing the American dream that was so in reach. Like, all you had to do was get a job, and now you could take care of your... Someone made a funny joke about, back in the day, a man could work one job and have 3 families, you know what I'm saying? But, so they were just focused on that. And I think a lot of our tradition was lost in that generation. I don't look down on them. I just feel like that was a condition that was thrusted upon them. And now all these things, when you talk about, there's not one form of medicine. Yeah, we got a lot of alternative medicine out there that was demonized by the Rockefellers a long time ago that was lost. And, it's like now all those natural remedies are lost to the world and people are so afraid of them. I had a good friend of mine who dealing with cancer, and there was an alternative, and it's still a pharmaceutical drug, but it's an alternative to the traditional way to deal with cancer. And he goes to me, I'm going to stick with the traditional way. And I'm like, okay, I just love you. I would hate not to give you as many options as I could to give you the best chance to survive, but it's your life, and I love you, so you're going to do what you think's best.
It's hard though, because I've said it. Oh, if I ever get some type of cancer, I'm gonna go the alternative way. But it's hard when a doctor's looking at you with this coat on, and he's like, "You need that chemo. It's helped this person." Really it's hard to be like, "Yo, I'm gonna do what."
No, I get you, dude. Yeah. It's really hard. So you kind of led into it what you wanted to talk about: the future of AI contextualized through the history of man's relationship with technology. You want to get into that?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of weird because we think that, so on my podcast, a bunch of people, we took a poll, like, what do you guys want to talk about next? And everyone wanted to talk about AI and the future of technology. And when I was sitting down trying to make the outline for the series, I thought, we really need to start with mythology because our relationship to AI is not just a question about, oh, how good is this tool, or what are its uses, or how perfect is it or imperfect is it? Our relationship to AI is much more about our relationship to knowledge in general and what we think technology is for. Because we all have this kind of naive assumption that, like, oh, well, technological progress is just going to keep going, it's going to keep advancing, and then the world will get progressively better. I mean, that's just kind of this unstated assumption that everybody has. It was very true for the baby boomers, like you said. And so we talked in that series. I just started with Garden of Eden and the Book of Enoch and the Tower of Babel and Prometheus, because the common denominator in all those stories actually is forbidden knowledge. And it's weird because the juxtaposition that happens is man is immature, but then he reaches for knowledge before he's mature enough to wield it properly.
I like that.
That's what's going on in the Garden of Eden. Now, just for that one, a lot of critics of religion will say, like, you see, the church hates knowledge, it hates free thinking. That's why it's demonized. Eve is this independent woman who wants to know things, and she's the villain of that story. But the commentary of the early church fathers is that God always intended to give man the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, except not yet, because man was just born functionally. He was immature. And so the sin is taking it before you're ready. It's the same reason you don't give a toddler a handgun. I mean, that's very real. Or you don't let a toddler watch an R-rated movie. That's just not, or a 10-year-old. We understand that, okay, there's things that need to be done at certain levels of maturity. And so you get these stories all throughout the Bible and other mythologies where the motif is the same. A spirit or a god, like the devil, or Prometheus, goes to give knowledge to man before he's ready for it, and the result is disaster. And that's the same. Basically, the Tower of Babel is this attempt to control the heavens using technology. That's how it gets read. A lot of other stuff like that. I don't know if are you guys familiar with the Book of Enoch?
Yes, very much. We've had a lot of discussions on this show. I find what you're saying is super fascinating. In particular, when I look at my own child and her love of her tablet, and people hate tablets, and I'm like, okay, explain to me what they're supposed to do now that we don't let them go outside. Dad's got to work. They play a lot, and then they go to school all day. Who doesn't want a little time off to just decompress, but it definitely sped up their maturity. Like when my daughter discovered the pad, she stopped playing with her toys as much. Her sister loves her toys, and she is on her pad, my other one. But the one definitely is like love, and she brings up insane questions and stories that you never would have think a 6-year-old was. Like, literally wanted to have a talk with me about flat Earth, regardless of whether you're into that or not. But for a 6-year-old to want to have that conversation is crazy to me. So, but going right into should she have had that at 6 years old? Should she have been on the tab at 6 years old? And there's a lot of social issues that come in about just letting your kids now go outside. Even statistically, it's almost improbable that anything will happen to them. But because of the propaganda of, there's bad people everywhere, we're afraid to let our kids outside. So it's a very hard position for parents to be in right now. So I find what you're saying about God and not giving them knowledge too quickly completely resonates with me.
Yeah, and part of the problem with the culture that we've created in the modern world is that we create all of these problems, and then the only solutions to them are more problems. So, yes, all of a sudden, well, when I say, like, actually, how about no iPad? And then people are like, well, what am I supposed to do? Both of us have to work all the time to afford something that, like you said, one man could have 3 families, 100 years ago on this job. Or it's like you create these social conditions, even if you leave your wife at home and you can somehow afford to pay for her to stay at home and not have a job. This is something we talked about on a recent series called The Feminine, where female culture has been destroyed because there is no local culture. Women don't have neighbors that they all know that they collaborate with. Yes. Their kids. 50, even like 70 years ago, the women were all at home. They knew every other woman on the block. They probably all went to the same church. The kids all ran up and down the block all the time because all the women had their heads poking out the window watching them, and they all had the authority culturally to go slap the kids around if they were doing something bad. And so you have local culture. And what's tied into that? Well, walkability. Now we have this car culture. I'm from Southern California. It's just all car culture. You cannot exist without a car, which means the friends you go to church with are not in walking distance. They're a 20-minute drive away. Well, now guess what? You don't have local culture. You don't know your neighbors. Every single part of modernity aims at a different kind of life than is normal for the human. And then you get to the end of the equation, and it's like, therefore, the easiest thing is to give the tablet.
Yeah. Again, it's when I was a kid, we went outside and play. That doesn't happen anymore. I think in smaller towns it does because everyone knows each other. But in LA, it's like I talk about, like nobody on my block talks. And when it is talking, everyone's fighting with each other. It's either gangbangers or IDF. That's what lives around me, dude. So it's like, what are you going to do, dude? What are you going to do? Dana's fighting with everybody. You're going to get me sniper fired.
You're right. Yeah. You can't, because there's like homeless people walking up the sidewalk, just grab a kid,
Yeah, it's like,
too dangerous.
There's parts of LA where you could do that, but those are super expensive places to live. And the Valley is really nice to have children because there is so many parks. But yeah, you're totally right about that. It's so interesting, man. Like, I've been on a real spiritual journey, and it's been crazy to me to learn like how right the Bible is about so much stuff. And this kind of propaganda to get people to not read it and not understand.
Well, a lot of the ways reading it for the last 500 years have frankly been cringe. So I understand why people were turned off for a generation about it.
Tell me about it. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the idea that, there's so many problems. Like, we did a whole series called American Religion, and Americans have this really weird relationship to Christianity. They have very specific ways of framing the biblical stories. Like if you know about Calvinism is kind of this very deep religious framework that most Americans have, even if they're not Calvinists, which is something like God is this angry father. You're a screw up, so he's pissed off at you. And you need to like really do XYZ thing and be pious and righteous, because then you can accept Jesus into your heart, and Jesus is going to get spanked for you. So that way we appease the wrath of the Father. And it's like, this is like a very strange way of reading the Bible. And I'm being a little ungenerous here, but that's mostly the take that's systemic. And I think so much of modern Western and especially American Christianity is concerned with like, God's mad at me. I'm a sinner. I'm going to hell. Like that, like Jonathan Edwards, sinners in the hands of an angry God. All of these takes are really foreign to, let's say, the 4th century Christians. This is a strange way of reading the Bible. And no wonder modern Americans have all this neuroticism about feeling judged by religion. It's very toxic, actually.
So what is your take on what is the real Christianity then?
So I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian, and I converted in college after doing the dangerous job of reading history. This will get you in trouble. And I was reading the early church fathers, and they basically just say, so these would be the guys like 2nd and 3rd century who were in living memory of the original apostles. And we have their writings. We just have them. They're not in the Bible, but we still know that those were the guys who were the disciples of the disciples. And when you read their writing, it's very explicit about how the church should be set up, sacraments and bishops and priests and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there reading this as a college student thinking, oh dear, I have to rethink my whole life now, because the Orthodox Church traces its ancestry back to those guys. And we have just records of bishops and priests going all the way back to the 1st century, preserving those teachings. And the idea that could be so easily demonstrated by basic history was not even on my radar growing up as a vague kind of Protestant, because it was made out that religion was this kind of ultimate matter of personal opinion that no one could really prove. And you kind of have to leave everybody alone about it.
That's so interesting. So where do you think it became corrupted?
Well, on Earth, we tend to screw things up. And so there's been a constant series of corruptions throughout all of church history. There's always been heresy since the beginning. There's always been attempts to subvert the gospel. And the church constantly responded to those, almost every century for its whole life. Now, where did we get the modern Christianity that we have historically? It starts with the split between the Eastern and Western churches, where the Western church becomes the Catholic Church, the Bishop of Rome. And then the second shift is when the Protestant reformers break from the Catholic Church. But by the time you have Protestantism, there's really no explicit institutional or even theological connection to what had been going on, several centuries earlier. They come up with these new doctrines that were either categorized as heresies, 1,000 years prior already, or were totally innovative and strange and foreign to the church.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to tell you about our good friends at Blue Chew Gold! Guys, I can't tell you. Sometimes I walk down the street and I can't tell you the crazy things I've seen, but the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, walking my dog, is a Blue Chew wrapper, because I know someone's going to Pound Town, dropping sweet hammers at Pound Town. Dude, we're talking deep Dickens here, okay? If you want both be mentally and physically ready to wreck shop, okay? We're talking someone's walking funny tomorrow, okay? Then there's 3 words for you. Blue Chew Gold. That's right. Blue Chew Gold is better sex in a tablet. That's right. They combine 4 ingredients into 1 powerful solution. 2 ingredients get you hard physically, and 2 to support arousal and desire in the brain, dude. You gotta think while you're pumping, okay? It works fast and last. We're talking long, hard boners, dog. Long duck dogs, all right? Guys, have a couple of guys. Here we go, guys.
3 guys have a couple of guys?
Yeah, guys have some guys. Here we go.
A couple of them. 3.
Guys, have a complete experience in the bedroom with Blue Chew Gold. There's a reason why Blue Chew is the #1 brand for better sex. Experience yourself at BlueChew.com. And we got a special offer for our listeners, okay? Those dick down warriors out there. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get a 3rd free. Come on now. That's 3 months of deep Dickens, okay? That free month with the promo code TINFOIL. That's promo code TINFOIL. You also receive an additional 10% off plus free overnight shipping on your first order. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the pod and the bedroom. Bang, bang, pow. Do you think there was a nefarious purpose in that outside influences came in to manipulate Christianity and almost all the Abrahamic religions?
Well, I don't like lumping Christianity with Talmudic Judaism and Islam, because those latter 2 are really a medieval phenomenon. They don't really get started until about the 6th century, and Christianity starts 5 centuries earlier, and it has a very different character. But sorry, I'm being a
I love this. I'll listen to that too. Dude, we're all about it. Like, you can go deep into that too. Your thoughts?
Well, that's just my academic footnote. But to answer your question, there's many cynical ways to read things. I'm pretty cynical at this point, but one way to read the Reformation is that the Reformation was very much of value to the ruling kings and princes of Europe at the time, because the problem with the quote unquote problem with being a king or a prince in the late Middle Ages is that you could be held morally accountable by the Pope. If you did something morally egregious, you could get excommunicated by the Pope, and that actually meant something political. That was a really big deal in Western Catholic Europe. And so if you're a ruler, you probably don't want to have moral accountability. It would be much more convenient if you were morally accountable to no one but yourself. And so a lot of these people realized, I'm underpaid to overgeneralize. That's what I say in the podcast. A lot of these people realized, like Henry VIII, that they didn't have to obey the Pope if they weren't part of the Pope's religion. And the way you don't be part of the Pope's religion is you create an alternative religious system that is not answerable to the Pope, such as Anglicanism.
Whoa. Kurt Mestro always says that, like, the big next level to the highest levels of power is starting your own religion. You know?
And who's the head of the Church of England? The King of England. That's how it was defined in the beginning. So now there is no moral accountability for the state. The state is higher than the church.
Whoa, in a kind of communist kind of way, even though communism isn't about God, but the state is bigger than religion. Whoa.
So the way I characterize all forms of government following the Reformation in the West, including fascism and all forms of communism and all forms of liberal democracies and republics or whatever, they all share one thing in common, which is that they're all what we might call state absolutist, meaning the state is absolute. There is no moral accountability higher than the state. Certainly no religion. And so we have to have this wall of separation, blah, blah, blah. But like, what is that for? And I just can't help but see it when I look at the beginning of the Reformation as a way for states to have absolute power without moral accountability.
That completely makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you, Johnny?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I can also understand the desire to. I mean, the Pope doesn't have he's not batting 1,000. All the popes through history, right? You know what I'm saying? So I can understand why you'd want to unshackle yourself potentially from.
But there's also again being nefarious and coming in and manipulating people's thoughts.
That certainly, yeah. That I totally
it seems to be this Babylonian movement to infiltrate all these different religions and kind of twist them in a way that fits what they believe.
I think they've all been infiltrated at this point.
Yeah, I do too. It's kind of.
Do you want to hear my demonological tinfoil hat conspiracy?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all for it, dude.
Okay, so what I have to ask
the doctor,
you
dude.
So here's the premise you have to start with. Let's assume that all the gods and spirits are real. All the mythologies assume it's all real. The early Christians certainly believed that too. If you guys don't know, the early Christians believed in the existence of the pagan gods. You read Justin Martyr, he says, oh yeah, they're real. Tertullian says astrology used to work, all of that stuff. Now, what did they think? Well, they thought that the pagan gods were fallen angels, basically. And so the argument from St. Justin Martyr to his pagan opponents was not your gods are fake, but your gods are evil. Like, look at Zeus. He sleeps around. He's awful. He bullies people. You can't worship this guy. He's a loser. And so that was the whole issue with Christianity and pagans at the beginning. And how you would read it. So here's my demonological conspiracy. One way to read the world history, especially our history with religion, is this. In the beginning, God created the gods and the heavens and the earth. And he placed the gods in charge of different regions of the world to help steward men. And when man was in his infancy, he put man's older brother, the angels, over him. Then the angels fell, you know, the Book of Enoch, and man fell partly because of one of the angels, the devil. And then everything went to hell. And what that led to was the creation of the pagan religions. So the pagan religions were basically created by these fallen rebel spirits as ways to enslave and control humans. Then Christ comes onto the scene. And what he does is he overthrows all of the old gods. And instead of the 12 Olympians, he puts the 12 apostles in their place. In other words, the demons are dethroned and man is put back in rulership of the earth the way it was supposed to be. And so that's why 12 comes up and all of these things. We can talk more about that if you want. So then what follows is several centuries of Christians going around Europe and all over the world smashing idols and destroying temples, because the Christians really believe and understand that these places contain demonic spirits that mind control people and extort them for sacrifices and virgins and whatever the gods want. And so Christianity abolishes all of that old pagan order. St. Patrick goes around Ireland with a sledgehammer, smashing images of Crom Cruach, because Crom Cruach is Moloch, and Moloch eats babies. I mean, that's just, everyone knows that. It's Carthaginians, etc. So then you get what? Christendom. So the gods are overthrown, and Christ and his church rules, and they're no more. The pagan order is over. Man is no longer a slave to the gods. Wonderful. Well, guess what? The gods are still real. No one killed them. They're spirits. So they're lurking around in the background. The church fathers say that they were all driven into the desert to flee the cities because the cities had become Christianized. That's why the monks go out into the desert to chase them with prayer and beat them up more. So then you're a demon, and it's circa 1200. And you're sitting there thinking, like, we cannot win the religious fight with these Christians because Christianity, the cross just beats us. The saints just beat us. You know, there's wizard battles between sorcerers and saints all throughout. You know,
let me ask you something, because you're cooking with gas. Do you believe that wizardry is real? Do you believe like mysticism within your, would you call yourself a Christian scholar?
Yeah.
Okay. Within your Christian scholar beliefs, is mysticism real? Is it automatically bad? Manipulation of energy and all that stuff.
Well, it depends. I actually did my doctoral thesis partly answering this question because our modern categories are kind of screwed up about it. So it's like we think all supernatural things are like weird and need to be explained. But ancient people didn't think that. The ancient people said they didn't have a supernatural category. The whole world was spiritual and enchanted to them. They just assumed that from the beginning. Their question was, where does this come from? Which god? Which spirit? Etc. And so the idea, this is kind of a side note, but the word sorcerer comes from the Latin word for fate, source, S-O-R-S. And that's someone who manipulates fate with his power, seeking knowledge to get power over the physical world. That was considered deeply impious, even to the pagan Romans. The pagan Romans had laws that outlawed witchcraft and punished it by death and torture, because everyone knew that this was a super impious thing to do. It's better to supplicate the gods and hope that they favor you. If you try to control the gods or blackmail them, like, you are in trouble, and they're probably going to blow up Rome if you do that.
Whoa.
And so the early Christians knew all this, and they encountered wizards, and they dealt with this, and you read their apologetics to sorcerers. They're like, hey, you can't do sorcery. Here's why. They don't say it was fake. They say it's bad. So anyway, so you're a demon, and it's 1200 AD, and you're stressed out because you've been driven into the desert, and you cannot win the religious war. Your wizards have all lost to the saints. Your magic has all failed under the sign of the cross. You can't do anything, and you can't take back Christendom. So what do? Well, you go in and you ruin Christendom very slowly from the inside over the course of several centuries, like you guys have been suggesting. And there are shifts in scholastic thought that kind of slowly turn the boat towards a different way of thinking about the world. And in the Reformation, we get this motion to take religion from being the purview of the community to being the purview of the individual. Whatever I feel, again, overgeneralizing, is right. We have this deep sense that individual feeling and freedom are equal to truth. And we get that from the Reformation in the West. And then right after that, all of Christianity falls completely apart. The Reformation schisms and schisms and schisms and schisms. Today, Pew Research says there's between 30 and 50,000 denominations of Christianity. And so if somebody goes up to you, yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And even if you say, well, that's massive over exaggeration, half of that is too much, 10% of that is too much, 2% of that is too much. And so if somebody comes up to you and says, you want to hear about Jesus, you literally have no idea what the next thing that's going to come out of this person's mouth is. That's how undefined Christianity is. And so it's lost, meaning it's lost all of its cultural purchase. It has no emphasis on our imaginations. It has no grip on our imaginations. And so it gets to what? A secular society in which people worship their appetites and their desires and money, pleasure, power. And then you have all these weird religions, pseudo-religious spiritual things sneaking in surrounding AI and technology. And now you're happy because you're the demon in this example, because we've gotten rid of Christendom. And now we can start slowly turning it back into something that looks like ancient man's slavery to the pagan gods.
That is incredible. That is what I've been thinking, and I'm not smart enough to articulate it in the way you just said it. That is amazing. I think you're spot on, dude. I think you're spot on.
Can I add something?
Yes.
So I don't know what kind of Christian circles you grew up in, but you probably heard people talk about, oh, well, don't make an idol out of television, and don't make an idol out of, your hobbies or whatever. And what the Christian means with this is, don't over obsess over this such that you're, skipping church or something like that, because they use this idol language from the New Testament. But ancient Christians, again, all knew what an idol was, and so did most ancient societies in the ancient Near East and the Mediterranean, which was a specific ancient technology. So there's this text called Asclepius. It's by this Egyptian, Hermes Trismegistus. It's written in Greek. That's a long story. But basically, he tells his grandson, our ancestors all knew this ancient technology of idol making. And he basically goes on to describe how if you want to catch a spirit and make it do stuff for you, you build a physical object that you can house the spirit in. It could be a statue of that spirit, like a statue of Zeus or something. Or it could be filled with things that the spirit likes. Certain metals correspond to certain gods. Certain plants correspond to certain gods. Certain gods likes to eat the sacrifice of certain kinds of animals. So you basically lay a trap for the spirit. You use secret magic rituals to lure the spirit there and trap it in the object. And now you have a spirit trapped in an object, like a genie in a bottle. That's what a genie in a bottle is.
Whoa, I never thought about that. That's a demon in a bottle.
Right. And the thing is,
I dream of genies dark.
when you trap a spirit in an object, because spirits are physical, no ancient person would have said otherwise. They're made of breath or gas. You trap them in an object with magic, and now you can get them to do stuff for you. That's why the wishes thing and the genie, that's where all that comes from. And all these ancient people knew this. And so when St. Patrick's going around smashing idols of Crum Cruach, it's because he knows that there's a spirit in there, and you have to break the bond so people can't have access to it anymore, because you bring sacrifices to it and then it does stuff. The early church fathers say oh yeah, those things, they'll prophesy, they'll do healings, miraculous healings, they'll do all kinds of stuff. You got to get rid of them because then they take your soul, And so when I look at AI today, it's so hard for me as a historian not to get flashbacks to this, because what's the proposition? How would you explain AI to Socrates? You say, well, we built this very sophisticated little object, and we used a ritual that took a long time and a lot of energy and attention, and we put a thing in there, and the thing can talk back to you, and it can prophesy, and it can advise, and it can do all these kinds of things. And now everybody has one. And we constantly are giving it our attention in exchange for this.
Dude, spot on. Because we've been hearing this, that AI is the fallen angels, but we're getting into demons, and that's incredible, dude. I mean,
but it's just the same thing they were doing in the ancient world. Nothing is new. We tend to think that we're superior to the ancients because we have iPhones, but literally if you transported a pagan Roman to today and try to explain any of things to him, iPhone, computer, whatever, he'd be like, oh, magic, that's illegal. We're going to crucify you.
Yeah, dude. And we always think it's so interesting the way we're presented the past, as everybody was bloodthirsty bigots that only worked from hate and didn't understand love and didn't understand kind of everything that we accept as the status quo now. When in reality, there might have been an understanding that, hey, dude, you're letting dark energy in. You're letting some dark stuff in.
Well, I mean, when you're Catholic, we still have idols. We still pray to these certain people that had magic. I mean, there's a reason we pray to them. There's saints and there's these.
What are your thoughts on that? Maybe the Vatican, I have friends of mine who I love with all my heart. When they pray to Mary. They do
Mary,
prayers to Mary. Like, what is your thoughts on all that?
I pray to Mary. I mean, the question is, for me, as a person who's basically practicing an ancient form of Christianity, I'm on the same page with pagans in that the world is full of spirits. The whole world is enchanted. That's just a given for basically every ancient person in every single culture before the Reformation, before scholasticism. So for me, that's non-problematic. The question is, who are you praying to? Who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? It's just a moral question. It's not like, because the modern kind of person will think like all supernatural things are iffy. And a certain type of evangelical Christian is very skeptical of the things that Catholics and Orthodox do because it looks like magic to them. But that's just because the evangelical, forgive me, has a very secular way of framing the world that comes from the Reformation and the Enlightenment. And they're trained to say that supernatural things are basically like kind of New Agey or potentially satanic or whatever. But it's like ancient Christians and modern day Catholics and Orthodox are just like, well, yeah, but those are the good guys.
Oh, so Mary, in that she's a good guy, is okay to pray to her?
Well, I mean, if you would ask me to pray for you, why wouldn't you ask Mary to pray for you?
Yeah, to be clear, Sam, maybe nobody's explained this, but they're praying for intercession on their behalf. So you're praying to someone to kind of pray for you, to God.
Okay.
You get like
You're
that's
not
how I've
praying
always
to them
understood it.
as a God, but you're
Right, exactly.
asking for their help and prayer.
Because they're closer. Like Mary would be, you play Mary asking like, hey Mary, since you're Jesus' mother, can you
pull some
like,
strings?
hey son, we got someone down here that needs some help type of thing, which is kind of like what you're doing.
It's like she's got more time on her hands than God. So it's like,
Very interesting. Glad that. So I'm going to ask a dumb question that probably Johnny understands and probably XG, hopefully. Define what the Reformation is, please.
Yeah.
If you could.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And how people answer this question tells you probably what religion they are, actually. So just literally, the Reformation is the period in 16th century Europe in which, starting with Martin Luther, who was a Catholic, there was a basically revolution / rebellion / dismantling of the old Catholic order. So Luther kind of starts his own religion, and then a bunch of the other reformers start their own religions. It's this kind of rebellion against Catholicism. The aim is to fix the problems with Catholicism at the time, which is true. There were problems with Catholicism at the time, but a reform had been talked about by Catholics for the last century. There are lots of people who are working on reform, and reform did happen over the next couple hundred years. But the Protestant Reformation was not really a reformation. It was the creation of a new religious system, a series of new religions. And each one said, well, we'll fix Catholicism by doing this. But that created a new religion. And then somebody said, no, we're going to fix it like this. Well, then that created a new religion. And then people disagreed within those about how we should fix that. And then those became 2 new religions and 5 new religions. And so now we have the 30,000. But that's this period of European history that historians tend to mark that as the beginning of the modern era and the end of the old Catholic medieval world. And it's concurrent with a whole bunch of innovations in mercantilism, and leads to secular government, leads to scientific revolution, leads to all these other things that we tend to think of as the start of the modern era. But really, they're all, and this is my answer, really the Reformation is the beginning of the secular era, because after that we no longer have Christendom. We don't have a Christian culture. You have a lot of people who are Christians, but they cannot agree on the fundamentals of the faith or even what those fundamentals should be. And so necessarily religion becomes a matter of public opinion, and then the state therefore becomes secularized. And then flash forward and you have the 20th century and the war of the nation state, the secular nation states over who will rule the earth.
Yep. Once we get rid of God, then it becomes a whole different thing, right? Hey, are you a dad? Are you a dad that works? Are you a dad who works and wants to have the right clothes for the right environment for working? Well, let me tell you about our friends at True Work, the best work clothing out there. Let me tell you about True Work. Working outside in the springtime means you're dealing with the chilly mornings, hot afternoons, and everything in between. Not to mention the mud, the rain, and whatever else the weather decides to throw at you. You need workwear that can keep up with the changing conditions, and True Work has you covered.
Most workwear is made from cotton blends, which restrict your movement and get soaked after just a few raindrops. True Work uses advanced performance fabrics to build products designed specifically for work on the job site. Springtime is the perfect season for the T2 Work Pant, which keeps you comfortable over a wide range of conditions. These pants have 4-way stretch for bending, kneeling, and climbing, a water-resistant finish to shed rain, and 9 intelligent pockets to keep tools just where you need them. They've been tested and validated for more than 10 years by real trade pros working in real job site conditions. With more than 15,000 5-star reviews, it's worth experiencing the difference for yourself.
You know what I love, dude? Look at these rain pants. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, those things look like they're good for anything. A night at the club, you look fashionable, breakdancing when it rains. I could wear that all the time.
The S1, what does it say? The Storm Cell, I think is what it's called.
Oh, it's fire,
You know what's funny is I've taken these snowboarding, and I know they're like rainproof, and I was kind of sketchy about it. I'm like, dude, this is going to get me wet. Nope.
Dude, this guy never gets wet.
Yeah, you shouldn't be sketchy.
Ladies,
about
don't
True
hang
Work.
out with
They're
them. Listen, the work doesn't stop just because the weather changes. Upgrade to T2 Work Pants and stay comfortable no matter what the day brings. Get 15% off your first order at truework.com with code TINFOIL. That's TRUEWERK.com, code TINFOIL. True Work, built like it matters, because it does. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. Those pants are fire. Hey guys, listen, our parents are getting older. They have so many stories to tell us, and we don't always get to hear all of it. Well, guess what? Our good friends at Storyworth make it so you get the complete story. Your parents tell their story, and it's saved forever in their own book. That's why I want to tell you about our good friends at Storyworth, okay? It's a really great idea. Most Father's Day gifts end up in the drawer. Storyworth doesn't. It gives your dad a year-long experience and gives your family a book full of stories he'd probably never think to tell his own son. That's awesome, okay? Each week, Storyworth sends him a question about his life. He responds however he wants, writing back over email or web, voice recording, or new this year, a guided phone call, no apps, logins, or tech hassles. Storyworth meets him where he is so he can focus on the joy of remembering and reflecting. Oh, this is awesome. You can even help pick the questions. Choose pre-written questions, write your own, or let Storyworth create personalized questions based on his life. You get each story as he tells it, and after a year, Storyworth compiles everything, his words, his photos, his life, into a beautiful handbook. Families have used Storyworth to create over 1 million books, dude. Wow, that's awesome. And more than 50,000 5-star reviews agree it will be a treasure for your family will love. New this year, Storyworth's Unlimited plan, but buy it once and you can give Storyworth memoirs to your friends and family all year. Plus, it comes with all their newest features and multiple full-color book copies. This year, give Dad a gift that captures who he really is before the story gets harder and harder to remember. Father's Day is Sunday, June 21st. Order right now and save up to $20 at storyworth.com/tinfoil. Save up to $20 at storyworth.com/tinfoil. Storyworth.com/tinfoil. And we thank them so much for sponsoring the show. I love this idea. It's great. So you kind of got into this a little bit, but I don't know if you want to go a little deeper into the techno-paganism future and what you think that looks like.
Well, if you want to go all the way with the demonological conspiracy,
I love it.
then the narrative is something like, now that Christendom is truly gone, and there's nothing even resembling Christendom anymore, we're in this kind of spiritual wasteland where people can't really sign off on the idea that there's no such thing as spirituality because it's just part of who we are. And we all know that the spiritual world exists. And so people are kind of groping after it and looking for something to worship. I mean, the sort of new atheist 10 years, that decade of new atheism was so cringe, and it misunderstood everything about the human experience. Like, oh, we don't need God anymore. We're free from that primitive hypothesis. But it's like, you look around, everybody's into spiritual everything all of the time. You know, one time I was in class and I said, all right, guys, who believes in karma? Raise your hand. Every girl raised her hand. and I said, oh, so you're really worried about how you're going to get reincarnated in your next life. And you're doing this karma calculation to like make sure you get reincarnated correctly. And they're like, what? Because that's the Hindu and Buddhist understanding of what actually karma is. But the American understanding is, you know, well, I said, well, what do you mean by karma then? And one girl said, well, if you do good things will happen to you. And I said, why do you believe that? If only the material world exists, what does that even mean? Good things. That doesn't mean anything. But it's like, we all have this latent spiritual way of understanding the world. We just are taught to not call it that. And so the point being, we want to worship. We want to believe in the spiritual world. And we're ready to worship anything, really. And that's where I see what I'm calling techno-paganism. Jamie Dyer and Jay Dyer have been calling it that. Apparently, I was just talking to Jamie about this. A lot of people have been calling it that, which is, it's this kind of new form of pagan religion in and through technology. Because modern man has been too propagandized about history to be kind of non-ironically religious. Like, we still think, we have this cultural sense that being a traditional religion is kind of cringy. And so, but if aliens exist, we can sign off on that. Oh, if AI is going to become a supreme intelligence, we can buy that one because that's scientific. You know, that's kind of the way that we frame it in a way that makes it acceptable to our modern sensibilities. But if you buy the demonological conspiracy theory, then this is just another way that that demons are sneaking in, putting on the alien mask, or putting on the AI mask, or putting on whatever mask that will get you to worship it. And then they're fine with it. You know, they get the worship and the attention that they want. We get to worship, which is what we want. And then the pagan religions will come back in a new form under new names, but it'll fundamentally be the same thing. I mean, how else do you describe like pornography in the like the internet weirdo phenomenon that it is now, outside of saying that Aphrodite is just on the loose? Like, she's in the box everywhere, trying to suck your attention away. She's got it. And how else do you explain all these things like Ares wants war? That's why we have to keep going to war. And Moloch wants babies. He wants to eat the babies. I mean, it's just and we talk about the economy. The economy wants things. It needs things. You know, Mammon needs the money to flow. It's just, as soon as you shift your paradigm slightly and start looking at things as these large movements in civilization and history as the way the ancients thought of them, which is vast cosmic intelligences, then you go, oh, the ancient people were like right on track. That makes perfect sense.
Have you written a book about any of this?
I have not. I wrote my doctoral dissertation was on this, but it was very academic. I did, if you're really interested in more of this topic, I did a 2-part series, 6 episodes called The Dark Logos and 6 episodes called Techno-Paganism. That's on my Substack. But I'm probably going to write a book on it eventually.
That'd be so interesting, dude. It'd be so. There's also something about, I feel, with like atheists, is like, you know, even though you had the girl gone, you know, you do good things, bad things happen. I mean, good things happen to you, but I don't know how much of that is like a belief or a fear with atheists that if you do bad things are going to happen. And it's like almost this desire to not believe that there's accountability for your actions. You know, like they're running from something. So it's easier to believe there's nothing, because if there's nothing, then there's no kind of price to pay for your actions in your judgment. And it's like, oh, there's no gods. There's no gods. There's means nothing. You know, it's like Sam Harris is like an atheist, but he does meditation classes. It's just like, how do you, while you know, it's Tim Dillon's famous rant about Sam Harris being an atheist and then running a meditation app as he's simultaneously calling for the bombing of Gazan children. It's just like the ability to be able to work that all together only comes from the fact that you believe there's nothing. There's no price to pay in the afterlife at all, in my humble opinion. That you just don't think that you're going to pay for that we're just, you know, as Bill Hicks called it, like he either called us viruses with shoes or monkeys with shoes on, and that once you take your last breath, nothing happens after that. It's like so crazy because you don't want to believe there's consequences for what you've done in this world. And
yeah, and I was extremely critical of the new atheist movement because almost nothing they said actually makes any sense at all. It's very historically ignorant and logically it's always very confused. You know, they're like, there's no such thing as objective morality. Also, the Catholic Church is objectively immoral. Yeah. You know, like this is constantly happening. Maybe. But like the most charitable way to read that reaction is, okay, it seems that religious people hurt you. And that's kind of what I was getting at before about the forms of Christianity of the last few hundred years being cringe, because it's like you have to look at somebody who's so relieved that there's no God. Why would you be relieved that there's no God?
Yeah, that's a great question. Why
because the Christian understanding of God is that he is love itself. He loves you personally more than you love anything, and he wants to draw you up into his life like a loving father and share in all glory and joy with you. That's Christianity. And so why would you be relieved that none of that is true? Like relieved. And I think the answer historically is that Christianity stopped being portrayed as that by many people and started being portrayed as this other thing, this angry God the Father who's pissed at you because you're a screw up and you're going to go to hell. It's like, that's so neurotic. And that kind of concern is, even in your language, you couched it in terms of accountability after you die. That's very Protestant, actually. That's part of our cultural imagination because the primary, one way to understand it is this, the primary kind of Western Christian model for salvation is a courtroom where there's an accuser, you're the accused, and you need to somehow get justified before the law. Whereas in Orthodox Christianity, the primary image all of the time in the early fathers is that the church is a hospital and you're sick. Oh. And the saints are here to help you and to heal you. I mean, St. John Chrysostom, one of the most prolific preachers of all time, he's 4th and 5th century, he said the church is not a courtroom. The church is a hospital. Like, he's just definitive about that because God loves you. And you guys know the story of the prodigal son. You know, he goes away and he wastes all his money and then he comes back and the father brings him back. You know, it's pointed out by many people that there's no judgment there. There's no paying the price. There's no, I told you so, say you're sorry. The father he says nothing. He doesn't even chide the son. He says, we're having a party. Kill the fatted calf. Break out the wine. My son's back. He was dead and now he's alive. There's no judgment at all. There's no courtroom scene. There's just this loving father. And that's one of the longest parables about salvation in the whole Gospels.
Is there something that is in between us and going to heaven or wherever you think we might go? Like, is there a judgment there where we're like atoning for sins and what we did wrong? You know, we've had, I don't know what your thoughts on near-death experience people. A lot of them said they felt everything they ever did to anybody. What is your thoughts on that?
Depends on who you ask, but the Orthodox view is that when you die, your soul is separated from the body, which is not a good thing. Your body goes into the ground, and then your soul goes into some kind of holding place, like Hades, like the place of the dead that the pagans believed in. And it's not entirely pleasant there because you're separated from your body, and that's kind of painful and stressful. Like if you eat when you're stressed, and then you're separated from your body and you can't eat, and then you're just kind of going to be miserable, right? So that's kind of why Hades is unpleasant. And then you're just there until Christ returns. And when Christ returns, all of the dead are raised, so all the bodies out of the ground, all the souls are freed from Hades, put back into the bodies, and then there's the judgment. And then each person goes up before Christ and gives an account. And then, and this part's debated. It's like some people are admitted to the kingdom of heaven, and seems like some are not. There's different opinions about that. And so death is kind of this waiting time. That's why we actually pray for the dead, to kind of console them while they're waiting. Oh. That's a very, very old Christian tradition, to always pray for the dead. And so if you hear all that and you have the Western mind about God being just this judgmental father, then that's kind of sounds like a courtroom, and that sounds very judgmental. But the kind of bigger picture is two things. One is there's one of the church fathers says that at the judgment, Christ himself is going to look for everything he can do to forgive you and show you mercy. He does not want to condemn you. He just wants to see that you were trying. You were really trying, because then you're able to enter the kingdom of heaven. You have humility. You can actually be part of that community because you're really trying. Well, who would not enter that community? Well, people who actually don't want to try. They don't want to be better. They do want to hurt and abuse and torment people. And you meet people like this sometimes. It's very odd. They have this like demonic energy to them. And the one way that this is put, C.S. Lewis put it this way. He said, hell is locked from the inside. The people there do not want to go to heaven. They hate that idea. They want to be miserable. They want to be addicts. They want to be abusers, that sort of thing.
That's so interesting. I'm trying, dude. I'm trying my hardest. So let's get, you brought up kind of the beginning of the West. What do you think that means? What is the West?
A lot of like modern day conservatives especially have this kind of rose-colored thing about that. They kind of identify it with the starting of America, if they're Americans, and then they think, yes, the Enlightenment, and the Reformation were all great things, and it led to the America and the new kind of society and all this stuff. But and then they kind of lump in like, the predecessors for us were, of course, the great Greco-Roman world, the Roman Empire, the ancient Greeks. They were our predecessors, and they kind of try to claim that as part of the West. But I don't think that's true. I think what the West means is kind of the thing that started at the end of this medieval era and led to the destruction of Christendom and the replacement of Christendom with secularism, and is now kind of moving towards this new sort of techno-paganism. And that secular world, I think that's really what the West is, because it's not compatible at all with Christendom. We look nothing like an actual Christian society, whatever American evangelicals want to say about it. We don't have bishops, for example, that can excommunicate the president in any way that matters. So that's, if you define the West in those terms, then it's pretty clear that the West is dying. Like our dream, our grand vision for the world where technology liberates us, and the historical progression is always toward more technology, more education, more freedom, more consumerism, more happiness, more peace. It's like, that's not happening. And many intellectuals pointed this out during the world wars in the 20th century, when more people were killed than all previous civilizations and epochs combined, in more horrible ways than had ever yet been imagined. It was really hard to believe in the Western myth of progress with a straight face after the 20th century, basically. And the diehards are holding on to that, like, AI will save us, the aliens will save us, this is the solution. And it's like, it just looks like coke to me. I mean, to use a phrase, it's getting worse. Standards of living are going down. Income is going down. Mental health crisis is going up. I mean, it's really hard to say that the myth of progress is working.
No, I completely agree. I completely 100% agree. And it, you know, it just gets so hard to want to save people that don't seem to want to be saved. It's just really hard. It's just because you see it. Everyone on the show sees it. The listeners of the show see it. They understand what's happening, and to express that brings great chaos into your life. And it's like people are so upset that you would challenge their way that they see the world. And you go, but you're going down a dark path. They don't care. And it's kind of just gotten me to this point where it's just like, you can't save anybody. They got to save themselves. Especially like, I deal with recovery. I'm a recovered drug addict and alcoholic, and friends of mine just struggle. And I was just thinking about this the other day about how, like, I have a friend of mine struggling, and it's like on this side, so easy. It's like, you got a choice between two apartments you want to live in. This one apartment is tranquil and quiet and simple, and you wake up and the birds are chirping. And this one is strippers and crick and, gangbangers and all that stuff. And it seems like really exciting, but it's chaos, dude. And it's an easy choice, but people can't do it, dude. They just can't do it. And it makes me sad. And it's like, when you talk about God and it's just like, I've just noticed people get closer to God, they get happier. People get farther from God, their anxiety and their depression, their anger goes up. And you're like, can't you see it? Can't you see it? The people screaming loudest that your way of life is wrong and it's old way of thinking and it's bigotry, they don't look happy. You want me to believe that you're the way to go? You don't seem happy. Are you on psych meds? And again, if you're on psych meds, I'm not going to judge you. You got to do what you got to do. I would never tell you get off it. That's something you got to do. But man, are you on psych meds telling me about what happiness is?
It's a great question.
It's crazy to me that no one else sees it. And this is from a guy that flunked first grade. Like, what are we doing here, dude? How can I see it? It gets into this.
And you know what?
Go on, sorry.
I see a lot of this myself, and then I see a lot of it in the mirror every day as well. And
100%, dude.
And what I end up saying to myself applies to everybody, which is like, you just have to keep picking yourself up and trying again. And what do we say? With the Lord there is mercy and plenteous redemption. Like, God loves you. I mean, and that it sounds corny to say it like that, but I don't know what else. I don't know what more hopeful thing you could possibly say. So here's like a random connection for you. Aristotle talks about happiness a lot, but the word he uses in Greek is eudaimonia. And it literally, so you see the word demon in there, eudaimonia, and demonia, basically. And what he means by it, I thought a lot about how to translate this. Greek's kind of hard to translate. But it's something like being smiled upon by a god. That's kind of what his definition of happiness is. And what that means is that you're not just enjoying pleasures. It means that you're kind of fundamentally aligned to the moral reality, the way the cosmos ought to be. You're in right relation to existence. That's his sort of definition for happiness. And he was a pagan Greek, so if you take out a god and you replace it with the God, who is love itself, existence itself, reality itself, then that's like the most fundamental way to be aligned or oriented to reality. And that means there's hope for everybody. And it's a constant process. It's not like a one-time thing. Every day you just keep picking yourself back up and moving closer.
So I want to get into something with you. It's one of the notes you sent me that really resonates with me is, we have these people, these Bolsheviks out here, and, they're raging against the establishment. while simultaneously calling for anyone who doesn't get the vaccine to be thrown in camps. They're wearing masks everywhere they go. You know, it just seems like they hate the establishment, but science trumps all that. And it's a very weird thing to me when we went through COVID, just watching even smart people, I would say, not just necessarily intelligent, but smart people just completely turn over their critical thinking to people in white suits and, you know, stethoscopes and all that stuff where, you know, their word is almost God. You know, the science is settled, like, which is 180 from science. So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, the very
Lab
simple,
coats.
but I think not incorrect way of looking at it is that science is something like our religion. And if you look at the history of this, I think it really bears that out. So people think about the scientific revolution, you know, like 16th, 17th, 18th centuries, where like, oh, we're discovering all these new things and we're learning stuff and we're innovating, we're making all this new technology. Yay, the scientific revolution. It's like it's like, sure, but why didn't that happen before? It's not like the medievals weren't smart. It's not like Plato and Aristotle weren't smart. You know, why did it happen at that time? And one of the answers is that it was ideologically motivated. So if you go back to the Reformation has just completely dismantled the shared religion of Europe. That's a crisis of culture because you need a shared worldview that everyone can believe in together in order to have a functioning society at all. And so I would say it's pretty defensible looking at the primary sources of the things that were written at the time that the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution are ideologically motivated attempts to build a new shared mythology for Europeans. And their mythology is secularism, science, reason, understood in a very specific way. Because, you know, again, the ancients, the Egyptians built the pyramids, Aristotle was a genius polymath. Like, we had smart people before. But they didn't think that they were going to use like geometry and natural science to build a new worldview that could replace the old religion of Christianity, which is what's going on in the scientific revolution. And so and another way to notice this too is that so much of the scientific revolution guys, their writing, when you read their writing, it's not just that they're trying to demonstrate their new things. They're trying to prove that Christianity is wrong. Like, that's a constant theme from this point in history forward, especially when Darwinism comes onto the scene. Like, there's no reason that Darwinism needs to be opposed to Christianity exactly. Like, speciation by natural selection is not a terribly original or innovative idea, but it gets weaponized by a scientific community whose one of their explicit goals is to discredit Christendom because they need to do that in order to build a new shared myth, a new mythology for a modern Western man, which is the myth of progress and secularism and this very particular relationship to technology. So it's no wonder to me that a couple centuries later, you have the men in the white vestments who tell you science says. It's like, what does that mean? That's a really weird statement. I thought science was make a hypothesis, do a test, observe the test, revise the hypothesis. Like, that's a method. What does science say means? Well, it's because it's turned into our knowledge authority. And we have a priestly class of people that disseminates that knowledge. And if you question it, which was supposed to be, as you pointed out, the whole basis of science was supposed to be skepticism. Question it, you're a pariah. And so it's like, I don't really think it's an exaggeration to say that culturally, what we're dealing with is the religion of our society. What's confusing about it is that we have been trained to think that those things don't count as religions. But what I always tell people is, let's get away from this confusing word religion. Scholars actually have no consensus definition for that word, by the way. So that's another reason to stop using it in this case. What I say is worldview. everything is a worldview. Everyone has a worldview. Sovietism is a worldview. Christianity is a worldview. Catholicism is a worldview. And Scientism is a worldview. And so you have to have a worldview that the culture shares in order to have a culture. And ours is what you're talking about. And that's why you see socially these kind of behaviors happening where people get pariahed because they're going against the official narrative. And that's because they're sort of rejecting our implicit religious kind of mythic worldview.
I agree, dude. It's crazy. So if you go, hey man, are you religious? No. Okay. Did you take the vaccine? Yes. What's in the vaccine? I don't know. Well, you have faith at that point. That's literally faith. You're just accepting. Faith is belief without evidence, right? Like, I think that's about what the term is. Faith is belief.
Can I poke that a little bit? Because I think that too is like a scientific thing. But faith is trust. That's the older definition.
Okay.
It's like when you're faithful to your wife. It doesn't mean you believe your wife exists without evidence. It means you trust her and you stick with her even when your emotions want to do something else. Faith is what keeps you aligned to reason, actually. If you're tempted, your reason says, hey, don't do that, but your emotions want to do something else, and faith keeps you on track. So faith and reason are friends. They work together. It's not you can't, if you define it as belief without evidence, then it's just kind of like dumb. But what you're saying is they trust the people who make the vaccine. There's trust there, so they don't need proof because there's trust.
I agree. And they have that trust in science without actually knowing what they're putting in their body. You have trust that when you go to the hospital, like the whole theory is like, oh, I'm sick, I'm wounded, whatever. I just got to get to the hospital. If I get to the hospital, I'm good. And then you get to the hospital and it doesn't go well. That's my grandma, dude. She wanted to get her colostomy bag changed. She never left.
Ooh.
She never left. And she didn't want to get it changed. And we won't get into that, but, it's a sad day, dude. It was a sad day. Very young. Died very young. But
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it happens. It's sad. Let's get into man, there's a lot to talk about. I want to get into the cult of your belief on feminism. I think it's demonic. I could be wrong, but what's your thoughts?
Well, it's a little hard to skirt around that when all of these major feminist figures are doing things like publishing feminist journals titled Lucifer and like explicitly calling for goddess worship and the worship of ancient Hindu demons and all this kinds of stuff. I mean, goddess worship in the late 19th and early 20th century and mid 20th century became this whole outlet for feminism, for feminism's attempt to overthrow what it saw as patriarchal religion and to recover a sort of more authentic feminine religion. But that literally just meant in practice worshiping these things that ancient Christians would have called demonic, and it's weird. There's this book, there's a guy named Per Faxneld. He wrote a book called Satanic Feminism, and I think the subtitle is Lucifer as the Liberator of Women. And he basically documents all of these things that happened largely in the 20th century, but a little bit before, where feminism is constantly making references to Lucifer and the devil as kind of this ally of women. Like they reconceptualized Lucifer and Eve as heroes, trying to save mankind from ignorance. And Eve was this heroine who listened correctly to Lucifer, who liberated her from ignorance. And there's all this weird stuff.
Crazy, dude. It's crazy.
It's completely psycho. Like Elizabeth Cady Stanton was a suffragette, but she was also into all of this weird occultic theosophist stuff. And it just keeps happening. And so part of the problem with feminism's, the discussion about feminism is that everybody just assumes they know what that means and they don't read the primary sources. When you read the primary sources for the major feminist authors from the first wave through the 20th century, they are basically 90% all anti-human secularists who want to abolish biological differences between everyone, or occultists, or both. It's very strange. Like, just a cursory examination of this. I did a whole series on this. And I was just like, am I taking crazy pills? Like, it's just here. They're just saying it in their writings. And nobody, people are like, feminism means you care about women. It's like, but all the major figures have connections to the occult. It's just there.
That's super interesting. And it gets back to kind of what you were talking about, the West, where, everyone thinks it's this amazing, financial system, cultural system. But in reality, everyone's making less money. Everyone seems high anxiety on psych meds, upset about the world. Same thing with feminism. Feminism, it's and this is Sam speaking, not the doctor, and it's going to come off very crass, but it's almost like ugly chicks convincing pretty chicks not to do pretty things. And it sounds crazy, and that's crude. I understand that, but it just, misery loves company. And that's what I see is a big part of feminism, especially older feminists who know in their hearts they didn't do the right thing. And they just keep pushing, like Chelsea Handler keeps pushing this belief that she's living her best life. It's so obvious.
Wouldn't call her ugly, though, would you?
Well, that gets into the misery part.
Right. It's more than it's a little more than I mean, it's very funny what you said, but it is more than, it's almost like people who are ugly on the inside.
Okay, I won't retract my statement. It's still
I don't think you should. But no, it's very funny.
I understand what you're saying.
But you know what I mean? There's a lot of truth to what you said, but it's even more than that.
Would you say a lot of the earlier feminists were smoke shows? And would you say, Gloria Steinem seems to be. She seems to be the most attractive.
Jane Fonda. I mean,
they're less hot.
But those are the celebrities.
Yeah, okay. We're probably losing the doctor at this point. But the whole thing is that it just seems to be a cult of misery.
Yeah.
And that, what it's basically saying is you have biological drives and those aren't necessary. And then it's almost, it sounds crazy, but it's almost so evil because they know that a female's biological clock is only so long. So if they can get them to get close to that ticking, when the alarm goes off, it's almost like they got you caught.
Yeah, because then denial kicks in.
Because in my head, if you're a female, you want to be like in the system. Why not have your kids really early, bang them out by the time they're in high school?
That's a great term for it, by the way. Childbirth.
You should run that. You should run the publicity campaign.
I know some girl.
Bang them out, ladies.
I know some girl that went through. She got her doctorate, all that, and she's ready to go be a doctor. Her husband wants to have kids. My thing, I'm like, if you guys would have banged out the kids like right at 18,
you're doubling down on it.
No, right at 18, her kids would have been in middle school, could have gone to doctorate, and now she can just go and pursue her.
That's hard to say. Is it to an 18-year-old?
The doctor must think he's talking to Neanderthals right now. But the point is,
no, you're right. Let me back you guys up with. I did the feminism series, and then we followed up with a series called the Feminine to talk about what is the right way to be a woman? And I had all these women on my show to talk about this. And they all said the same thing, which was, look, you can have whatever career you want, young ladies, after you have kids.
Yeah.
Get married early, have 5 or 6 kids, 10 years later, you're good. Now you can start your career and have a career into ripe old age. But if you try to have the career first, you're going to lose all your childbearing years. You're going to have 0 to 1 kids after that, and you're kind of going to be miserable and pulled between two things. They're like, you can't have a high-powered career and be a mom at the same time. You'll just go insane. So get married young, have a bunch of kids, then they help you with the house. Then when they're reasonably, self-reliant, then you can have a 30-year career. Go for it.
And it gets kind of crazy to me what they've convinced young women are the important things. Like, if you talk to a lot of guys, men love working. Working defines us, our jobs. We like to go to work. We're hunters and gatherers, dude. We do that. But it's like men die early. for a reason. They're stressed out. They're working all the, they get grinded into the ground. It's like Bill Hicks' joke about, how old ladies look versus old men. You're like, old ladies are like, hello, hi, how are you? And old guys are like, and it's like there's a reason for that, man.
This is my fear, is that you can't have both. As a woman, you just can't. Like, it's
my mom did.
But ageism is a thing. Like, once you've had a kid and you kind of look like you've had a kid, you know what I mean? Like, there are certain careers that you just can't have at that point.
I mean, like, let's say teacher, right? Like, they don't like older teachers because they tend to ask for more salary. But if you're a brand new teacher, you're going to get a brand new teacher salary.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it depends. So it depends on how you want to do it. There is work out there for people to do. They just have to find the right job that they're appropriate.
What I'm getting at, though, is I wonder if it's just not the case that that's not meant to be.
Well, my biggest problem with, and I'm not pushing against you, Johnny, but it's like the other way is to work for your retirement. And like, how many times do we hear people like?
I think we agree. Is what I'm saying is I wonder if it's even true that women are, without exceptional circumstances, can have a career also. Maybe they're just meant to be moms.
Oh, Johnny, you sexist pig.
I know, but is it possible that that's just what we're designed to be?
I'm not against what you're saying. We're just talking about how women have been they've been brainwashed, because you hear like women talking about children now. It's horrifying. Like the way they talk about children now. Everything we see on the internet is what bubbled up to the top, and that's all AI, and that's all done for psychological reasons. But the way women talk about kids is like 10 years ago, you would never have heard that. 15, 20 years ago, never heard that. The way men look at sex now, you would never have heard that 10, 20, 15 years
Give an example of how you're seeing women talk about kids.
So, like, I see multiple videos of girls doing podcasts talking about they don't want to have children because it will ruin their bodies. I saw one woman talk about she doesn't want to have kids because she doesn't want to do homework. Like, what?
Celebrating it, though. Like, celebrating, like, the single life as a virtue, almost like it's
the sexual prime of a woman is so powerful that no one could explain to them what is coming. And again, it gets into this thing where like you hear women in their 40s going, when a woman comes 40, she's invisible. You're not invisible. You just become like everybody else, totally. Where you have to earn everything you got. That just lets you know how good you had it. Okay. But there's this notion that that it's young girls think it's going to last forever. And it's not that you're not attractive or beautiful. It's just youth for men and youth for women. You have athleticism, men have athleticism, women have fertility, and it's intoxicating. And it's just the way we're built. It's not meant to last forever.
All traditional cultures had this idea that a woman has basically 3 stages in her life. You guys probably know this: the maiden, the mother, and the matron. And that a woman's life is defined by having these transitions to each phase and doing what's proper at each phase. As a maiden, she's pretty, she gets everybody's attention, she gets married. And then I heard somebody say that the wedding is the funeral for the maiden. And then the maiden dies. And then the mother is born. And then the mother raises children. And that's great. And that's what we need for society to continue existing. If they don't do that, the world ends. So it's slightly important. And then after the kids are grown, then you have the matron phase. And what did matrons do in traditional cultures? They organized everything socially. They ran all the local church culture. They cooked all the traditional meals, kept everybody fed. They did the matchmaking. They basically, like, grandma is civilization, kind of. If you had a good relationship with your grandma, you're like, oh, grandma's house. Like, I'm going to go to grandma's. She's going to give me cookies that she made, and she's going to, like, I'm going to be taken care of, like grandma's house. No matter how old I am, I'm going to be taken care of grandma's house because grandma's civilization. And it's like the problem is that we've told women that the maiden phase is and needs to last forever. That's the only phase that matters. That's the only phase that has value. And when we push off motherhood so late, we push off matronhood so late. So, like, matron, you think old lady, but that just means like, I don't know, that could be like a 38, 45-year-old woman who's still got 30 years of plenty of energy. I mean, old ladies run parishes. I don't know if you guys are in traditional church cultures, but yes, the clergy are male, but like without the old ladies, there is nothing functional.
I agree.
At the churches. The weddings, the funerals, the parties, like everything is coordinated by women who have grown-up kids. Everything.
I agree.
Yeah, I grew up
and it's
around
fighting the biological clock. It's just fighting the phases of life.
It's when you chop all your hair off, and you go for that that haircut that all those old ladies at church have, and then they just take care of you, dude. It's the best thing. Yeah, and we've lost that.
But just think about like how demonized motherhood is. Like it's just, to me, insanity. Because unless you have a crazy mom, and people do, most people love their mother more than anybody outside their own children. Yeah. And your mother is like pure love. And to look at that as some enslavement.
And I want the love that you have for your mom is crazy as a female. I'm like, you
a
don't
buddy
want
of
that
mine
love.
just told me he's having his first kid. I go, you don't even know the love that's coming.
Yeah.
You don't even know the love that's coming. You have no clue. And you can't explain it. It's not a puppy. It's not a dog. And I love my dogs, but it's not even close.
I wonder how much pharma has interfered with that, though, because I have heard a couple of guys like, I just held my child, and I was just like, oh, it's a kid. And I think maybe pharma is interfered.
That's definitely possible, but have you checked in with them again?
It's not people I know personally. It's some people I've seen on the internet stuff talking about it, but it's I wonder if that's why this, at least partly why the incentive is, or the biological incentive seems to have diminished. People aren't rushing out to have kids anymore.
Yeah, well,
if you don't grow up with kids, it's alien to you. If you were like, had divorced parents and only one sibling or something, and you weren't around babies growing up, and you get handed a baby, it's like an alien. You don't know what to do.
Boy,
but if you grew up in a traditional, that it's just what forms you. But if you grew up in a traditional culture, I mean, at my church, we have a lot of kids in Orthodox church, like Catholicism. And, I just look around church when I'm standing in church, and there's 8-year-old girls carrying around 1-year-old kids. Like they just grow up with babies. It's not weird to them. Like these 8-year-olds are better at changing diapers than I am. Yeah. And I'm a dad. So it's like, that's just part of the culture. It's part of your assumption. But you grow up in a secularized society. You grow up in no family, or some kind of a highly dysfunctional family. Like so many people I know who don't want to get married, or they don't want to have kids. It's because they have bad relationships with their parents, and they don't think that they're capable of being good parents, and they don't want to repeat the bad dynamic that they had with their mom and dad. And so, like, no, that was a mess for me growing up. I don't want to see that again. I don't want to be part of it in any way, shape, or form.
All right, I agree with that, dude. It's just nuts to me. I just want to end on this because I don't want to keep you all day. The right-left paradigm. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we just finished a whole series called The Left and the Right. And basically the way you might put it is that people really put a lot of stock into these distinctions. And there are distinctions, but they're two wings of the same bird, basically,
really,
which is this new form of civilization that started arguably with the Reformation and into the Enlightenment. And that's what the founding of America and the French Revolution are all about. They're actually, just like historically and technically, the founding of America is the victory, and the French Revolution are the victories of the left-wing people of the time, because they won. Because the right wing originally was for the monarchy and the traditional Catholic Church, and the left wing wanted revolution and secular society. So then the left wins, and then America and the New France are created as a result of this left-wing project. And so modern-day conservative Americans, I just find it to be an awkward situation, because like their whole set of framework that they don't even think about the world, or they don't even think about the way they think about the world. Like America begins with a leftist revolution. So it's like, it's just never clear to me at any point what's going on with conservatism. And the argument I always give is like, why does the right always lose? Like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, we have the transgender conflict going on, and that's the left wing position. The right wingers are saying no. But like, roll it back 15 years and what was going on. The left wing wanted gay marriage and the right said no. Well, the right lost that. And now a lot of conservative people are just kind of like okay with it. They're like, well, whatever, you can't tell people what to do. Well, what happened before that? No fault divorce. The liberal position was that people should just be able to get divorced if they wanted to. And the conservative position was no, you have to sue somebody for that. That's a whole thing. It should be taboo. And the conservatives lost again. And now all conservatives think that, like, they're like, well, no fault divorce. I mean, what are you going to do? Force people to be together? And they just shrug their shoulders. And what was before that? The liberal position was you should be able to marry whoever you feel like. And the conservative position was marriages need parental, clerical, and community oversight. And the right lost that one too. And now if you suggest that people shouldn't be able to marry whoever they fall in love with, it's like a crazy thing to say. No conservative believes that, really. You know, it's like, so you see what I mean? There's like this weird progression in our culture just on this one issue.
Why'd they lose, do you think?
Because they're liberals. Because at the bottom of this whole revolution that spawned the left and the right is the idea that you are and should be a radically free, autonomous individual. That's the conception of the human that all modern people have. And so when you start from that premise, there really aren't arguments for why you shouldn't be able to just do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. Like we don't know how to think in any more other moral terms than that, because we don't believe in the good. And the right wing tries to put the brakes on this train. It's like, well, you should be able to do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else up to this point. And the liberals like, no, let's move it a little further. And then they just keep moving it because the conservative has no defense to that, because the conservative fundamentally agrees with the liberal that society should be secular. There shouldn't be moral accountability in the form of an institutional church. And the individual will is primary and freedom is good in and of itself. And when you start with those, you're a liberal.
I always hear when somebody goes, America was founded on Christian values. I go, I think it was founded on Freemason values. I mean, they're probably Luciferians if you really dug deep enough. I mean, think about that. It just gets into an interesting thing because as you're saying that, I'm like, I guess I think that too. I guess maybe. So is it? It's a weird thing. It's for me, it comes down as are you hurting people? And maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, and that's what conservatives.
I'm open-minded to what you're saying.
And that's when conservatives stop. Just trans, but just no kids. So as long as you don't hurt kids, that's what's saying. We're kind of like the right's kind of going like he's right.
But don't you feel that there are? I'm not arguing with you because you're totally right. What I'm trying to go is why does this happen? And I feel like there are points where people are like, because modern day, they're afraid of being called an old fuddy-duddy or whatever. And it gets into, okay, you can do what you want. You just can't do this. And it seems to be that there seems to be lines being drawn. And I think that like the trans and bathroom seems to be a giant line and they keep pushing it. And it seems to be like, no, dude. And the kids stuff. And I'm not arguing with you. I'm just talking on what I'm seeing. That it seems that I said this on the last episode too. It's like people are okay with new ideas as long as it doesn't go to the bizarro, where it just seems completely out of practicality, And I could be wrong because we're going to see that with the chip and all that stuff that they really want to get these biomatrix. How far will people go? Like with the AI data centers, that seems to be a line where people are like, nope, that's too far. That's too far. And you have all these local communities voting out councilmen who've obviously been bribed to destroy their own community. I don't even know how those people are allowed to walk the streets.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I one thing I think we should bring back is like, punishment for treason. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you're getting at the accountability thing again. If it's considered treasonous to hold your public figures accountable, then you don't have the ability to hold them accountable. If it's considered theocracy and scary institutionalized religion, the Catholic Church is the boogeyman, to have a bishop excommunicate a president, or for the bishops to have their own armies. That's like, we find all of that inconceivable. That's like crazy talk. But at a basic level, you're just talking about moral accountability. Like, how do you have moral accountability in this kind of culture?
Do you think it was, again, done purposefully to detach people from God? To insert, we see this in politics, we see this in Hollywood, where they insert corrupted people to corrupt the system. And then, the way a big part of people leaving the church are all these pedophile scandals. Do you think that they were purposely put there to cause chaos?
I don't know the answer to these questions. I'm not privy to the counsels of the ruling class, but it wouldn't be at all unbelievable that would be the case. And also, there's two other things to notice. One is that you don't have to cause the problem to benefit from it. So my friend always says, some people will never let a good crisis go to waste. So the fact that we publicize and fan the flames and push the news cycle about witch stories is kind of the same thing as what you're saying. Like, it doesn't have to be intentional, but we have a narrative and we have a media machine that wants to play into these narratives to cause these kind of problems. So to what extent any of it is intentional or not is maybe not even important. It is happening. But then the second thing to notice, and again, I always feel self-conscious saying stuff like this, but it's just kind of a fact that all of the major economic, technological, political, and social movement figures in American history have some kind of connection to the occult. Jack Parsons was part of NASA and JPL. He was a student of Aleister Crowley. So many of these early suffragists were associated with Crowley and Thelema. All of the liberal movements associated with suffragism and all this kind of civil rights stuff actually starts in upstate New York. And all of the first women's conference for women's rights is upstate New York. Upstate New York is like the most occultic history in the United States.
We've had people come on talk about that.
Like, it's crazy. So it's like, okay, you can say like, it's conspiracy theory, but here's the thing. You have to have some alternative explanation for why is it that all of these suffragettes, all of the people who are pushing all of these liberal social positions, all of the people who are inventing new technology and pushing technological progress, like, why is it that all of them are one step away from occultic people or are themselves practitioners of the occult, of Thelema, of Wicca, of Theosophism? Like, they were spiritualists, they were mediums. Michael Horowitz wrote a book called Occult America, in which he basically says that he said you could not find at that point in history someone who was at a seance table and wasn't involved in suffragism and vice versa. They were just the same thing at that period in history. So it's like, that needs to be explained somehow.
It's a great point, dude. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I've been seeing what you've been talking about. I just haven't been able to put into the proper words. This is just these pagan gods want to come out. I've been saying it forever. The old gods want to come out and play, and they're tired of sitting in the background and not getting worshipped, and they want to be worshipped. And these elites have sold their souls to these fucking powerful entities to bring them back. And I've always said, and I was saying this just a week or so ago, but like, Christianity did come and put an end to a lot of these pagan practices, particularly in terms of sacrifice and sacrifice of children. And that pisses them off. We still
sacrifice children.
Yeah, we are. But you're correct. I mean, 70 million abortions last year. I mean, absolutely insanity, dude. Absolute insanity. Well, you get abortion in terms of incest. You're saying there were 70 million incest and rape abortions, is that what you're saying? You know it's not true. You know it's not true. And for women to be so propagandized to wear their stat sheet on their shirt on how many abortions they've had, I mean, it's just a disconnect.
Is that a thing that happens?
Yeah, you see them at these protests.
It's crazy.
I've had this many, like, unbelievable.
It's things
And
like
we allow angry, mentally ill people to yell the loudest. It's like comedy, dude. Most of the time they leave like comment cards. Most of the time at a comment, most people that like the show won't even leave a message. They'll go up to you and go, "Oh, I love the show." It's just the angry people that like, "Oh, he said things that I don't agree with," and then they'll write it in. It's just the way it is. So the most mentally ill are the loudest barkers in our society, and it's just fucking crazy, dude. It's just crazy. Well, Doctor, it was great to have you on, Dr. Zachary. Would you like to one more time tell them where they can find you? I'm going to subscribe to your Substack. I can't wait to see what you talk about. I'm very excited.
It's basically more of all of this in much more detail. And I read the primary sources. One of my viewers called it a grown-up reading Rainbow. It's like, don't take my word for it. Like, here's the person saying that right here. Like, you explain it to me. You know?
I'm excited.
Zachary Porcu, ZacharyPorcu.substack.com. It's a ton of content on there.
Doctor, excellent episode. One of the all-time bangers. Thank you for coming on. Open door anytime you want. Come on. If you finally write that book, come back on, promote it. Anything you want to promote, open door. We hope to have you back soon. Thanks for coming on. Let's break down the episode. What do you guys think? Dr. Zachary Porcu, what did you guys think? I loved it.
Dude, from teacher to podcaster, you can tell he was a teacher before.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell.
I love that. That was like a great, great conversation.
Would have enjoyed college more if I had a professor like that, I think. You know? Like,
what do you guys think about universities disappearing? Good things, bad things. Johnny!
Good riddance, I say.
I do too, dude. I mean, like, if there's no jobs there, why are you going to that? Get a practical job. I mean, now you hear women are becoming electricians and plumbers. Do you want that?
Wait, really? Is that a trend that's happening?
Yeah.
Electricians, all right. Funny. Plumbers, though, you really want to? I wouldn't want my daughter or my cousins.
I would love that butt crack, though. Every time you walk in the kitchen, it's a porno scene.
It's her now.
No, dude, 100%. I think you should get into. I mean, the question becomes: is there even going to be auto mechanics next down the line?
It's all going to be AI, like automated robots.
Even plumbers.
There's no way a robot's going to want to clean shit. Dude.
Electricians.
An Optimus robot shows up at your door. You know, for cheaper than you could pay a human plumber.
See, that's where it went.
See, what do you guys think of China going? You can't get rid of jobs for AI. You can't replace humans.
It's a good way to become. I mean, I don't know if market efficiencies could punish that if it turns out AI is more efficient than humans.
But it's not right now.
Right, exactly. But if it does become, then I can't imagine them keeping it.
It just seems like some of the wheels are falling off on this AI shit.
I hope so.
I think you can prolong it, but it's coming.
It seems inevitable.
Yeah, like you can literally tell companies like, "Hey, we don't want you to hire AI." But
think about how we're nitpicking it right now and saying, "But that's a great look for you, by the way." Sam.
Thank you.
Think about how we're nitpicking it right now versus what it was. Remember that people kind of pass it around every couple of months. That first AI generated video, or one of the early ones of like Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Oh yeah.
And how it just looked like gobbledygook nonsense.
Dude, it was so bad.
And it's just a couple of years later, bro, and you couldn't tell it's not Will Smith.
Yeah.
Now what's 2 years from now? 3 years? I mean, forget
and
about
like
it.
when Sam says that QAnon was the first AI, imagine if they tried that with this AI. The power it has, like if it convinced and it duped other people back in like what, 5-6 years ago. Imagine what the real AI could do to someone right now and dupe them and make them think that Hillary Clinton's going to get locked up next hour.
Especially with voice cloning now, you know, it's like, I mean, I remember, little tangent, but when I was a boy, they would have these online audio chat rooms, and it was just mind-blowing to speak with someone on the other side of the earth, just about like sports or whatever.
Yeah.
And you would do it, you know, my family would be there, but what I would do after the fact, like I would go back on later and I would just play audio of like the president from an earlier time announcing the launching of like a nuclear strike or something, just to with people. And now, I mean, and it would like people would be like, "What the is happening?" Because I was just a troll.
Johnny,
I
you're
was
a
a
little
troll,
anarchist.
Yeah, I was a troll
you?
as a kid. Yeah, and so imagine now when
Look how clean his sneakers are.
There's gotta be. They are very clean. I wish we could get that on camera. Can you hold your leg up that high, actually? Oh, there we go. Yeah, imagine now when we've got to have some solution for. There's got to be some kind of embedded code or a watermark.
Just think about where AI pornography is going to be in 5 years.
It's already there, dude.
I think we're watching porn without knowing that you're watching some AI porn.
You haven't seen the ads like on the porn, like the porn ads.
Yeah, but they still don't look real though. It's getting there.
No, but the stills are like
maybe because it's a 14-foot dick.
The thing they're doing is fake celebrity nudes now, like saying, "Oh, look whose nudes leaked," and then you realize this is AI, obviously, or not. It's not obvious, but. It didn't make the
Is there any way to regulate that, Johnny?
That's what I'm wondering. No, it's good. It would take, and when have they ever done this well? Technology companies limiting themselves. And I just don't see that happening. Also, it's the latest NVIDIA hardware and especially some other companies working on it they're making it so you can do all this stuff locally on your own computer, so you don't require, and then it's all bets are off, once 15 like little anarchists like me or
my question is, if you can put it right on your computer, what do you need chat GPT for?
No, well, it's incredibly resource intensive to do what some of those AIs do, but you can do the local stuff.
Oh yeah, I was doing anyways, I want to get back to what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Real quick, let me just go. It was interesting to hear him talk about Christianity, and it's something I felt for a while, like why it's the real one. Because it came in and changed all their pagan rituals. And they're really, like, in particular, stopping child sacrifice and animal sacrifice. Like, that is a big thing. And that's why they're like, what other form of religion, Johnny, has? I mean, Judaism has a bunch of different versions. But does Hinduism do any? Buddhism?
I mean, you got
like 70,000.
Oh no, not that many. No. But I mean, that's it. Yeah.
It just seems like it's the real one, dude. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it seems to me like the real one. It's Christ or get out.
I mean, I feel that way, obviously.
Right? I mean, that's my opinion.
I think you can get there a couple different ways, but it being the thing is, I agree.
Guys, go to samtripoli.com. Albuquerque. Nope, past that. We already did Albuquerque. Miami, Florida. St. Petersburg, Florida. Lawerence, Kansas. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dallas. New Orleans. Austin. And I got more dates to come, hopefully. If you check out Sam Tripoli, all my premium content's on fire. Join my... Dude, I'm trying to put out as much content as possible. Join my newsletter. Just put your email in. You can get on it. Go to samtripoli.com for that. You can go down. My premium content is crushing. Johnny Cash Daddies.
Yeah, it's a good place to hang out with people who also want to learn about investing and stocks and prepare for retirement in their future.
Get ready to rock. Go back. New T-shirts out. Sam Tripoli t-shirts, tinfoil@t-shirts.com. Sir AAA Bacon. It's the jam, dude. That's a great shirt. And then, we got Chemical Free Body. I took that today. Prometheus for Decentralized Website. EMF Rocks. Brain Supreme. If you want a microdose and just get smooth, check them out. Anything for you?
Hit that like button, subscribe. Go check out my podcast, XG Marks the Spot, please.
There is almost certainly a new Broken Simulation out right now. Check that out, please.
Always and forever. And then if you go to World War Debate, the Contender Series, I moderated one of them. And then we have another where our Contender Series coming out. And then looks like World War Debate is either going to be in Nashville or Miami. We don't know. And the date is about to be set. Hope you guys can join us. Anything else, boys?
Time to go check out your special at samtripolicomedy.com.
Yeah, and samtripoli.com. And don't forget to join the YouTube channel, too. Go to Tinfoil Hat, youtube.com/tinfoilhatofficial. Check that out. That's very important. help us fight the algorithm, find it there.
We were talking about data centers for a little bit. Hey, John, is it true that we can sell chips to China now?
I have no idea.
Are you going to make some?
No, I was just...
What, are you going to make salsa chips?
Because that was the thing about the data centers, that supposedly we weren't supposed to let China get better at AI, but we're selling them chips now.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. It's like how...
They all work together. It's all the New World Order. They want the world to be China, and everyone play nice, or else they burn everything. They destroy your life. They're just pagan scumbags. They're just pagan scumbags. And he's totally right, dude. The techno-pagan religion and government. It's like unbelievable. Techno-paganism and satanic feminism. And you just can't get women to not understand that. Like, you have a biological drive and you're fighting it because your pussy's popping right now and you have the world by the balls.
Yeah, nobody. That's why there's such an emotional response to that, because nobody wants to hear that in that position. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I did it when I was a kid. When my friend's husband told me, dude, it's not going to last forever, dude. This is going to be a party the whole time. I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm going to rock forever. Now, I was the LeBron James of partying. My college years went for about 20 years after that.
Your hairline was back.
No, dude, I'm good. No, dude, I was in my party prime for a long time. Okay? Yeah. But now it's done. Party, yeah. I just look at all my friends who were serious about shit, how far they went. I've done very well. I'm okay with that. And the internet talks a lot of shit about me. When you have opinions and people don't agree with them, they just get mad at you. It's what Tony Hinchcliffe's going through right now. They just don't agree with his opinions, so they think he's the Antichrist. And he's like, nah, he's a jester in a world of clowns. That's what's happening. When you have opinions that aren't the status quo of the culture, people get fucking mad at you.
Yep.
And it's just the way it is. And it's like you can no longer have disagreements with stuff. It's just very weird. And like, I wish the autistic people like me. I have an autistic kid. I'm one of your tribe. I'm on your side. Give me those autistic dollars. Guys, I can't wait till you guys see Conspiracy Smoke Show, the new show.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming, guys. You guys are not ready.
You are.
Oh, you were there. That one chick, remember? Tokyo Punch Drunk or Tokyo Punch?
No, Cunt Punch.
Yeah, that was a crazy. That was the closest thing we got.
Was she a hooker?
Conspiracy Smoke Show. Dude, she was.
There was something weird.
She had got touched, and then she was at her uncle something. Me and you were looking at each other.
That was
Johnny was over there.
That was one of the weirdest days of my life. Yeah.
You guys should go check out that episode. It was
Tokyo
nuts.
Cunt Punch. Like, what? How is that your name?
You know what's so funny? She and another comic basically started saying all the time, blackface dick. I had this big comic go, you don't use it in a joke, do you? I go, yeah. He goes, oh, I've been saying it now. I go, okay. I mean, what am I going to do, dude?
It's because it's so good that you didn't even think that you created it. I'm sure that's what he thought. He's like, oh, Sam must have took this from someone because it's fucking good, blackface dick.
Yeah, I mean, I do good jokes.
I agree with you. I know who you are.
People don't personally like me. That's the problem. I just have dark energy, and
he kept saying it after you said I created it.
Yeah,
piece of shit.
I don't give a shit. It is what it is. Enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. In the subject or the title of the last episode was, are they about to screw Spencer Pratt? And they absolutely did.
We got the answer.
Yeah, we got the answer. It was clear they didn't want Karen Bass to have to campaign to the right for,
that's my favorite part of it. They're like, Karen Bass actually wanted Spencer Pratt. Like, dude, she does not want to go against Ramen. No.
In fact, when it became clear that she wasn't, the moment the polling, this was reported at the time. You can go back and look. The moment the polling showed that she wasn't going to get 50% and that Spencer Pratt was going to be with her going to November, Nithya Raman, who had just endorsed Karen Bass a week before, decided to run because they knew they could just zip it up, give it to her. And that's exactly
it's like the Democrats. Oh, the Democrats would rather have one candidate than both candidates. That's what people are trying to convince me. Oh, they'd rather have one candidate. And,
yes. Yeah. No, it makes no sense.
It's absolutely stupid.
Well, and then the people, I mean, if you don't know, we won't relitigate all the numbers, but all the late mail-in stuff was heavily for Rahman, who was in third place. And now people are saying like, well, the late vote is always skews Democrat, but they're both Democrats.
Why wouldn't they vote for Karen Bass?
It doesn't make any sense. And then
her own district didn't even vote for her. The people who know her best didn't even vote for her.
And then the people who will tell you, and there are thousands of them online, that there's not possibly any kind of shenanigans going on, are in denial because James O'Keefe just got someone arrested 3 weeks ago, now a month ago, for electioneering, for paying homeless people downtown to pretend to be other people and then sign the ballots. So here's someone on Skid Row talking about being paid to vote right here, and I think this is from O'Keefe.
You live in Skid Row?
I live in Skid Row. Mute yourself, Johnny.
They come down here and try and pay you to vote?
Yes.
On a ballot?
Yes.
Oh, how much they pay you?
$5.
Oh, they said here.
I don't think this is O'Keefe, but I think this is some guy that just went down there. But it's all damning.
Come and vote for these candidates?
Yes, sir.
They told you who to vote for?
Yes.
So they told you to vote for Karen Bass or Cynthia Rahman?
Karen Bass.
Did you vote for Karen Bass?
Yeah.
For $5?
Yeah.
Did you vote?
Yeah.
Oh, you did for Karen Bass?
Yeah.
Karen? They told you to vote for Karen?
Yeah. They had to sign a little thing.
And how much they pay you?
It was like $2.
$2?
$2
on a thing to vote for her?
Yeah.
They say, oh, do you want to vote for Karen or Nithya? Or they just tell you to vote for Karen, huh?
It was really promoting her, man. They gave you an optionable choice, but they tell you who they want to.
Or they tell you who you want to vote for. So like, we'll give you $2, but you got to vote for one of these people.
Well, I'm a barterer, man. So I got $4.
And you're like, yo,
yeah, you didn't get much as the chick. She got $5.
Do this for everybody out here?
Yeah, they come out here all the time.
How often do they come down here?
Probably like 3 times a week.
3 times a week?
To
get the ballots?
Yeah.
Wow. And so you know other people too that voted too?
Actually, anybody that's registered, dog eat dog.
Johnny, someone say you can't even get a 40 for $2, dude. How much is Old English now with this straight of her moves? How much has malt liquor gone up? Johnny, will you look that up? How much is malt liquor now? I mean, it's hurting the streets.
How much is Alizé right now? Let me see.
What's Mad Dog 2020 go for now?
Let me see. A 40. Let me see. A 750 milliliter bottle of MD 2020 can be as much as $9 now. It says at Cost Plus Liquors, it's $6.99 for us, or to $13.99 for a.
You got to vote 3 times just to get 140.
And yeah, dude, and that was the shit that happened after. But this is the woman I was just talking about who was just arrested for paying people to pretend to be other people, possibly like dead people or something. I don't know, and to sign ballots. This is the woman that was caught on hidden camera, which I'll show in a minute, by James O'Keefe. This was KTLA reporting.
Prosecutors also arrested a Marina Del Rey woman, 64-year-old Brenda Lee Brown Armstrong, who admitted to paying homeless people on LA's Skid Row to register to vote and sign political petitions. Court documents indicate Armstrong paid people $2 to $3. If convicted, Armstrong could get up to 5 years in prison.
Unbelievable, dude. And it's like, is it surprising that the people who stole the fire aid money would do this? Is it shocking that the people who have allegedly stolen $300 billion? So this guy, if you go to my Instagram, Johnny, you'll see the video.
Okay.
I got sent this video by a friend, and it's a video of this guy breaking down how Los Angeles voted for, or Los Angeles or California, but I think it's Los Angeles, voted for a 10% increase in taxes, right? In sales tax.
Which one is it?
Go down. That one, it's above George Bush. No, above it.
I got it.
Right there, yeah.
Literally just voted to increase their own taxes. And I don't mean they did that by voting for Karen Bass. No, I mean there was an actual ballot question saying, hey, do you guys want to pay more in taxes? And the people of LA apparently said yes. Now you may be asking yourself, who the would vote to raise their own taxes? Well, here's how that vote actually went down. So the people that came and voted in person, almost unanimously voted against that ballot measure. They were like, hold on, wait, you want to raise our taxes? That. But then you had the mail-in ballots. And in the early mail-in ballots, they also voted against it. But the ballots that came in after Election Day, the ones that were like 65% Nithya Raman, they overwhelmingly voted in favor of raising their own taxes. By the way, they raised it from 9.7. They raised their sales tax from 9.75 to 10.25. They voted in favor of a more than 10% sales tax. But look, here's the thing. You can argue that it's strange that so many late ballots, 65%, were in favor of Nithya Raman. I think it's even crazier that more than 80% of those ballots were in favor of raising their own taxes.
Unbelievable. Now, Johnny, start that again.
That's great.
I want you to start again. I want you to see something at the very beginning. Yes.
Okay.
But you need to show us.
Literally.
Okay, ready? Get ready.
Increase their own taxes. And I don't mean they did that by voting for Karen Bass. No, I mean there was an actual ballot question saying, hey.
Look at his wrist.
Funny.
He's got a Kabbalah bracelet on.
What do you? What's that? Why we keep
not
saying
good?
That?
Not good.
Yeah. What is that? By the way, I think before we podcast from now, we should have to just do one of these, like just to show our wrists,
guys. Like when new dealers come in. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone. If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to Broken Simulation in your podcasting app or check us out at youtube.com/Sam Tripoli.
Las 6 de la tarde es hora de Primer Impacto, con las noticias más increíbles e impactantes de la televisión. Primer Impacto desde esta tarde a las 6 por Univisión Puerto Rico.
We're back, baby. Number one podcast in the world. It's your boy XG Marks the Spot. Just me, solo, dolo, no chili, millie. But we're back, baby. I got a crazy amount of videos here for you guys. I got Sam Tripoli getting attacked on stage. I got us. You heard that? Us, me and Sam Tripoli signing titties at the 1000th episode. What else I got for you guys? I got the Comedy Store Chaos. I got a gun malfunction. This fool almost blows his motherfucking head off just trying to like scope something out. It's crazy. I got a lot for you guys, but before we get into that, don't forget 710. The 710, we got a 710 show here for you guys. You can go get your tickets at eventbrite.com. This is the link right here. Go get it. Let me get out of there. Fucking A. Go get your tickets now. 710, we don't smoke the same at the Post Pizza in El Monte. It's going to be me, E-Zone, co-hosting the show, Steftone from the Deftones. Go get your tickets now. It will sell out. And for anybody who super chats today, if you live in California, I am putting you on the guest list for the We Don't Smoke the Same live show at the Post Pizza. All you got to do is super chat something, ask me a question, ask me a conspiracy question, ask me how it was at the 1000th episode. It was such a great time. I want to thank everybody who was there. Thank you. Thank you again, Swarm. If you haven't seen the full episode, it's out now at samtripoli.com on our YouTube, Sam Tripoli Tinfoil Hat episode. Kurt Metzger was there. Eddie Bravo was there. For some reason, we talked about my dick for like 10 minutes. It was fucking retarded. What else do you expect when Kurt's there? I just want to thank everybody. Like I said, I want to thank everybody who hooked me up. You already know, same team. We don't smoke the same. I was over smoking Delta 8 and THCA. I don't know. It was like supposed to be like the loophole in Texas to smoke weed. It was cool, but it's not fucking Cali, dog. It's not Cali shit. So for anybody who was there, the homie that blessed me with like about an eighth of some fire, thank you again. Made my weekend. Seriously, dog. I got a video for you guys. For everybody who doesn't believe me, I also signed titties. It wasn't just Sam Tripoli. It was me too. Some fucking rock star shit. Where's the video of the fucking Sam Tripoli doing that? I got it right here. Check this out. Check this out, guys. Look at this. Dude, it was so funny because my girl was there too. And I saw her looking at me and I was like, girl, I'm going to do it anyways. Where the fuck is the video? Check it out right here, dog. Look at that. She's wearing a tinfoil hat swarm beanie, which you can get those at